The best investment advice I've ever gotten in my life is easily buy and close your eyes. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Obviously, it's a bit of a red day, but there's a good reason for that, and it's not because of crypto. So today we're going to look at equities, stocks, and the general economy. So let's go ahead and get into it. First thing we're going to talk about this article right here. So the Dow Jones has dived due to this Chinese company and some property fears amongst the Chinese market. Now, this could be a lot of different things, and it could be a lot of different layers of things that I don't fully understand. So I'm probably not going to do this full justice, but I am going to say that a good portion of what's happening today is because of this capitulation in the stock market, because of this company, to what I understand. But as you'll find out soon, this company is much, much bigger than we all think. So zooming out from Bitcoin for a minute, here's the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The Dow Jones is down an incredible amount of points today. I think the last article that I read was 800. It's most likely a little bit more as of making this video here. The S&P 500 is also down. I found it funny that somebody tweeted out, it's like, oh, if you're ever worried, check the S&P 500, and then you'll be fine. And then, even then, it's not a big. I mean, everything's down, everything's capitulating, and it seems reminiscent. Now, this isn't as big as the March dip, absolutely, but it seems reminiscent of more that type of fear and sentiment. I mean, back then, we dropped a lot of points every day. Some days were upwards to 1,200 points. Some days were 800 points, 900 points, 500 points. There was a lot of drop here. It doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be a consistent drop. So this drop right here, it does look pretty serious, but I think that this is more due to the news, and I don't think we're going to get to any dangerous area, but we're going to talk about that. Evergrande, which is a Chinese property giant, sparks economy fears. So Evergrande has actually reached out to the major banks and said that they are not able to make their interest payment that is due Monday. So the interest payments are roughly $84 million, and that makes me even feel a little sick. So because of this, the company's share dropped roughly 10%. Now, this is because the company over-leveraged themselves, borrowing more and more capital, roughly $300 billion. So this company is a huge real estate giant in China. And there are several reasons why this could be very problematic for both the Chinese economy and the general economy alike. Now, many people have bought property through Evergrande, and even before building the actual property, so they could be completely out their money without even a house. So that's totally possible if they do go under. A lot of businesses have done business with them, but overall this has a huge impact that could potentially ripple through the whole Chinese financial system. So if they do default on banks, that reduces how much they can borrow, and this could lead to a credit crunch where they're struggling to borrow the money to keep operations, and then that's going to unnerve foreign investors, and it could really do damage on the Chinese economy. But anything that happens to these big economies between China, USA, it really ripples through the global economy. We can kind of see that in the Dow Jones. So are they too big to fail? Here's one big thing is I think they are looking at roughly something close to the 2008 financial crisis, on that same level for them with this one kind of entity, Evergrande. So I do think at some point Beijing might have to step in here and might have to do something. So there's an absolute possibility that the government will just come in and do whatever they need to do to keep everything afloat. But right now, this is the fear that's being generated within the market. So that is what's causing both the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the SPY S&P 500 to kind of dip down right now. Again, we're looking at some serious dips. This is not a small dip at all, but you have to put this in perspective when you look at something like Bitcoin, like cryptocurrency, because of course everyone was really scared. Now, if you look at Bitcoin and crypto, here it is. We are at a pretty red day, not as dramatic as here. If you look at it comparative to what's happened in the stock market and what's happened with the global economy, at this point, this is not all that bad. We can kind of see the hour chart where we kind of gained a little bit of support here. We bounced off the 42,000, which we've talked a lot about 42,000 before. 42,000 is kind of like our line of support slash resistance. It's that line that we had to go off of, and that's because of these points here, basically at that 42,000. So this is our line of support right now. Now it doesn't mean like we don't have to stay above this line, right? We can always go below this line, but of course right now it is showing to have a good amount of support over this level. Of course, we're on the hourly chart, so we haven't been over there for too long. If we look at the daily chart, it's much less. So we don't have a lot of support, but we do have some support to kind of hold us through. The dip doesn't look super bad, but I mean, all markets are kind of squealing right now, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen. Some people may ask, what happens to our golden cross? Well, we are still in a golden cross. Nothing has happened. We'd have to stay down here dramatically for an extended period of time to get a fake cross. Now, I want to kind of relay the parallels here, because for whatever reason, this is making, and maybe I always have March vibes, but for whatever reason, it's making me think of these vibes here, where we got that golden cross right before everything was going to get bullish, and then all of a sudden we got some really bad news about the economy, about the virus and everything else, and that sunk us into a death cross and made us go really far down. But eventually, we were able to make it back into that golden cross to spark a bull cycle, which this could just be a kind of push to a more of an accumulation phase for some people. Big businesses and everyone else are most likely going to accumulate in this phase. So yes, if we do kind of get a fake out like on the death cross, it doesn't mean that we're going to crash to nothingness, but at least it means for bearish times in the near term, of course. But again, I've been a firm believer that this market cycle is going to be longer than most other market cycles. Each market cycle should get a little bit longer if lengthening market cycles are a thing, opposed to maybe more of a stock to flow. So everything is really down right now. I'm not even going to go over the different altcoins because we have Bitcoin, Cardano, XRP. Everything is shaved at least upwards to 8 to 13%. But even amongst this, Citibank, cryptocurrencies have sparked a new way of thinking of payments and infrastructure. This is important because we are eventually moving on to the blockchain. So even though we see cracks in our financial system right now, we have all this stuff happening, we still have this glimmer of hope within the blockchain. Now, according to Citibank, cryptocurrencies have evolved from being this obscure internet novelty to reaching a $2 trillion market cap. Completely agree. Whether or not cryptocurrency disrupts the payment system as we know it, has sparked a new thinking in the payment infrastructure, processing, and accounting, in addition to its increasing adoption as a store of value. Banks are bullish. MasterCard's bullish. Visa's bullish. Citibank is bullish. The Bank of America is bullish. You got to really put that in perspective when you're looking at what's happening in the next 5 to 10 years. And again, investing for the next 5 to 10 years. I'm going to go back to that quote I said, the best investment advice I ever got in my life, it was buy and close your eyes. I live in 2030. I don't live in 2021. So I'm investing for that time, for ahead of myself. Brazil investments banks are planning to offer Bitcoin and ETH. So there we go. We have Brazil kind of embracing that South American love of Bitcoin, it seems, especially with Brazil. Now, there are some people, I just want to be fair, there are some people that are not a fan of Bitcoin. There's actually a pretty big movement in El Salvador, believe it or not, people protesting Bitcoin. I think maybe a lot of this is people not understanding. I watched some videos and it seems that the country has so many other problems that their issue is, why are you spending so much on this when we can't even, treat our patients correctly? We have a lack of healthcare. We have a lack of food in certain areas. We have poverty, right? So there's criticism because of what the government's doing. I think, I'm not going to inject what I think, but that is basically the story there for El Salvador. And the last bit of news that we're going to go over is Ripple's team is not planning on a settlement with the SEC. You guys know at this point, I'm an XRP bull. A lot of people don't like XRP, and that's absolutely fine. If it isn't, this is where the video ends. You can go ahead and end it right now. At this point, I think a lot of people can agree that this lawsuit is at this point in the hands of Ripple. They do not plan on settling with the SEC in any way, shape, or form. Brad Garlinghouse has actually said this from the get-go. That was one of the very first things that he made very clear, that they weren't going to settle. And a lot of people have been speculating a SEC Ripple settlement. I don't think it's going to happen. Gary Gensler is not your friend in cryptocurrency, and we need to kind of fight to make sure that certain cryptocurrencies and certain laws don't get passed. That way we can have innovation in a safe market. Eventually it will be safe, but right now the SEC is a mobster in government uniform. But that's it for me. Hopefully this video kind of helped you kind of understand and wrap your head around what's going on today. If it did, go ahead and give me a like, subscribe to the channel for more crypto news and content, and of course, happy hodling.